We're going to pick up with the main central part of the pasuk, the most important and most difficult to implement. Chanoch lena'ar al pi darko. What does it mean, al pi darko? This key phrase. So, says the Malbim, we will start there, is that people are predisposed in different ways, and these predispositions manifest themselves in two different areas. First of all, there are different intellectual predispositions. There's theoretical thinking, there's practical thinking, there's abstract thinking, there's creative thinking, there's linear thinking. So we have to recognize that children think differently. Their intellectual abilities and their intellectual directions and proclivities are different. And then, says the Malbim, there's also different practical talents. There are different skill sets. There are different crafts and abilities. There are children who are good in art, music, numbers, experimentation, physical labor. Kids are different, and they are talented in different ways. So we have to acknowledge these differences, and the education has to be al pi darko. It has to be aligned with their natural abilities. How do I know, says the Malbim, how do I know what these natural abilities are? And the Malbim gives an amazing answer. The Malbim says that what the child enjoys doing, what the child has a cheshek for, okay, that, says the Malbim, is the indication that we have the right, that we're going in the right direction. Yekabelo tabekal. When you try to educate a child to do something and it goes smooth and easy. V'zeyukar b'hanar lefi hatishuka. His enthusiasm, his desire to do it, that indicates that this is part of his innate talents and abilities. And lefi masha mishtadel be'atzmo. Self-motivation. The Malbim is anticipating some very, very deep principles that modern educators are discovering, that when you can create self-motivation, that's the most important tool. And the Malbim's chiddush is that self-motivation is an indication that this is the natural talent of the child. So what the child enjoys, what the child has self-motivation for, that you have to identify as darko. We too often pay lip service to this. We don't always walk our talk as educators, as we're educating our children, or as we're allowing the schools to educate our children. The key word here is individuality. Children are different. The individuality not only has to be respected, but it has to be nurtured. Says the Malbim, why? Gam ki yazkin lo yasur mimenu. If you educate al pi darko, the child will be receptive to it, and it will last. But if you try to force something that is not natural, gam ki yazkin, it's not going to be natural, it's not going to stay with it. Now we're going to take an exact opposite perspective, using exactly the same words of the pasuk, al pi darko. This is the Reishis Chachma, and he learns the pasuk in a completely different way, sounding contradictory, but I believe it's really complementary. He puts a question mark in. Chanoch lenar al pi darko? You're going to educate the child the way he wants to be educated? Well, what are the inclinations of a small child? Selfish, pleasure-seeking, immediate gratification, lazy. If you allow our education to tolerate or even encourage these immature instincts, these self-centered instincts, then gam ki yazkin lo yasur mimenu. Then when he grows older, they're going to be well inculcated, and all of the bad, immature midot, the self-centeredness, the pleasure-seeking, the laziness, all of that's going to become part of his personality. So therefore, it's read as, not as an instruction of Chanoch lenar al pi darko, but rather as a warning. Chanoch lenar al pi darko, you're going to educate the child just based on his instincts. So then, gam ki yazkir lo yasur mimenu. He's not going to be habituated for proper behavior, but he's going to become habituated for improper behavior. And then, as everybody says, to make changes when you're older is much harder. So we have here two very different perspectives on Al Pi Darko. On the one hand, you have to educate based on the child's intellectual abilities and natural talents, but you have to make sure that you're not allowing his instinct and his immature qualities to govern how he's being educated. You have to resist them, and you have to teach him how to resist those instincts. Next week, we're going to deal with another aspect of this Al Pi Darko, and then we'll have some very rich insights.